Yesterday,
Ellie bought you a present.
all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. The Beatles.
Who?
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles.
No. Stop it.
Yesterday. It's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Well, it's not Coldplay. It's not Fix You.
Hey y'all, this is Preston again here with Barely There, here for another movie review for you. Been meaning to get this one out for a while now. This is the movie review for the movie Yesterday. Myself and my buddy David, we actually reviewed this about a couple weeks back. Just been a little busy. We put up the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, and I was really editing this movie review we done a while back for Fox's movie Dark Phoenix, which was hilarious, and I accidentally deleted it. Unfortunately, these things happen. I don't know. Maybe we'll revisit it and review it again some other time, because it's just one of those things where the movie is so bad and you just love to just talk and rip it apart. But yeah. So with this movie Yesterday, it was a movie that we were both kind of interested in seeing, and one we actually both ended up seeing. And what did we think about it? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So here's our movie review by Barely There for the movie Yesterday.
All right, hey y'all. Once again to the channel Barely There, here for another movie review for you. Possibly one of the biggest movies to have come out in the past 2-3 days. Pretty good movie called Yesterday that I was egged on to go see by my good buddy who is now joining me once again, forever and always. The legend, the myth, the one, the many, David Lee Harvey. David, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Hey guys.
Hey.
Back again. Hey, doing good.
That's good, man. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I'm glad to hear. David and I, we were just catching up a little bit. I was telling him a little bit about this graffiti teenager problem we're having in our fair city of Detroit. It's pretty tragic.
Don't listen.
I was just talking about underground pirate radio station, Jet Set Radio. But more on that later. We're here to talk about. David's not really interested in that business. We're here to talk about a movie that's just come out. A movie that I was kind of on the fence on seeing, but just going off the trailers, it looked kind of interesting. But you know, me being who I am, I like looking up movie reviews and the general buzz about certain things. I try not to let it sway my opinion when it comes to movies, but it's a difficult thing to do. But also on the other side of that coin, it's like, hey, if I don't get paid to go see these movies, so I'm taking my own personal time out and my own personal money out to go see something, I at least like to know that it's going to be halfway decent. So yeah, I was really on the fence of seeing this movie, but David, you were like the one to kind of nudge me over the fence, and it was because of you that I saw this movie.
Yeah, man. Did this movie really just come out? Did it come out like 3 days ago? Really? Was it like ish? Like at least like is it like last week, right?
I was kind of just talking out my ass, but yeah, it actually did come out last week. It came out last week. At the time of this recording, yes, the movie technically came out. It's weird. It gives me the release date for the United Kingdom and Tribeca, but not for the freaking US of A. I don't. There's a link. I'm scared to click on it. I'm not very cultured.
Don't trust those
Tribeca. The Tribeca Film Festival. Jesus Christ. Which had to have been much earlier this year. That's when all the cool critics go to.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get there one day. We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was at least like a week or so ago.
Nah, it was like a week or so ago. Yeah.
Yeah, this one came out, but that's not.
I think
anyway.
it came out yesterday, David. That's what I think.
Oh,
dad joke for the win.
Oh, hallelujah! It was very. I remember when this movie was coming out. I was semi interested in seeing this movie. It was kind of like, okay, like that seems kind of interesting, but I really wasn't gonna go to it. I heard some negative reviews from it. From about this movie, and it seemed at the time like it just kind of bombed from some sources that I heard from. So I'm like, I'm not gonna see it. But one of my roomies wanted to go see this movie, and I'm just like, why not? I'll go see it if somebody else wants to. And I was pleasantly surprised by this film.
Yeah. Same sentiment. I was pleasantly surprised by this film too. I thought it had a great premise. Really liked the idea of it, and of course the director, Danny Boyle. He's made a couple of movies that stuck in my head. Most notably, Slumdog Millionaire. So I was thinking, okay, it's got to have something behind it, And then when you said, "Hey, I really want you to go see this movie, Preston," like, okay, well, there has to be something to it. You wouldn't steer me down a dark road.
No, I'm not Joshua.
Literally, that man has just taken me down a dark road. But yeah, so I saw it, and yes, just like you, I was pleasantly surprised. So here we are with our review for yesterday. I'm going to start off with all the things that I liked. First and foremost, thankfully, I think this movie hinges a lot on its two leads. And I think they're both really good actors. Jack and Ellie are like the two main protagonists in this movie, and I really like Jack. Like, I think they did a really good job of setting up his life, and he's this character. He's kind of, I don't want to say broken down, but he's kind of going through the motions. He wants to be a musician, singer songwriter, but he's working a mundane 9-to-5 retail job, and all the gigs he's playing at are just either open mics or at tents where nobody's really paying him any attention. He's and he's been doing it for a while. And as much as his best friend Ellie wants to keep, pushing him on, he's kind of down in the dumps about it. And from that to the transition of him making it big, I think he carries it all with a really good sense of he's very naive and innocent, but also just riding the high of starting low and then coming up high. It was just very believable. I could totally see myself being in his shoes. I think that was one of the reasons why I kind of connected with the movie a lot, because I was like, yeah, I could see this reacting like that. And everything, minus the British accent, but I could see myself in those shoes.
The accents, though.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea what you said, but yeah. You cut it out there for a second. I was like, what?
I said them accents, though.
Oh, them accents, though.
Mm-hmm.
Them accents, though. I'll get to that later. But I suppose I could talk the rest of the interview just like this. But yeah, Jack, I quite like him a lot. Very charming.
What?
What was that?
Quite.
Indeed.
Quite.
Right. Indeed. But yeah, quite liking him a lot. Very entertaining. Quite believable. And I really like the I can't keep this up. I really like the chemistry between him and the other lead, Ellie. I think they had some pretty good chemistry together. So yeah, that's one of the things I liked. David, what's something that you liked about the movie?
Yeah, I agree. I like the overall premise of this movie. It was just something kind of cool. I feel like I haven't seen in a really long time, if ever. Yeah, I mean, to this degree, such a band with such an impactful impact on the world and on culture and history, man. The Beatles really did they did a ton, for human society, as in just the impact that they made. So it was cool to see like a movie where a musical band, you know, like never existed. There wasn't a whole lot of things that we know of that were too different in this world's timeline without the Beatles. It was more so just their impact on music, on like music, people who like music. You know, like there, you know, there wasn't again like there wasn't like, you know, oh, the Beatles never existed, so you know we don't have, I don't know, late night talk shows now. You know, it wasn't anything like that specifically. You know, like it didn't change like a whole lot, but it was more so just like, okay, people never heard of the Beatles. You know, okay, you know, but yeah, I just like this the take on this movie. Yeah, that's what I liked.
Nice. I agree. Yeah, I agree. It was an interesting premise. One, like you said, one we don't see often. It was pretty entertaining, especially in the beginning. Another thing I like about this movie is that David, you and I, we stayed at many a time. We're not the biggest Beatle fans, like like at all. I only know 2 or 3 of their songs. I couldn't sing them from beginning to end. But I recognize how important they are. You know, what they've done for music, and what I think the best thing I can give this movie praise is that it is a love letter to the Beatles in a way, and you do get the sense that people behind it do care about the music, and it's nice to see that on display. But the thing I love about it is that it doesn't beat you over the head with it. You know what I mean? Like, right. Like, because like some of these musical, I don't want to say musicals, but these movies that focuses like on bands and stuff, like kind of that documentary, like this is where it began, their origin and everything like that. Like it gets really cheesy and it beats you over the head with it, and you feel like you're just constantly listening to like just the album as the movie's playing, you know. And this movie didn't really do that, and I liked it a lot for that, because it's really about this character that's kind of taking credit for something amazing music, but something that technically did exist that he's aware of, and you get to see him play, and it kind of feels original because he's actually. Well, another thing I really admire about this actor is that he actually, you know, sung and played guitar. He actually did, like every time you see him on screen. Hamish Patel, every time you see him play his guitar, like he's singing these Beatles songs, and you get a sense like he really does, you know, have a connection to it. And right. And it's not, and the movie doesn't constantly, again, he's not doing it 24/7. There's that like little montage of like he's doing the post-it notes and he's writing down the songs and playing them. But again, it's never like overbearing, you know. Although that might just be because of my lack of knowledge of the Beatles. Maybe they did play a ton of Beatles songs, I just didn't notice. But
I mean, I don't think it really wasn't a whole lot, you know. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, right. I was just listening to another review on YouTube, and one of the guys he was a pretty big Beatles fan. He says that he wished there were more songs in the movie.
Okay, well that's good. I disagree. Reginald. But okay, that's good. So that's good to know I was coming from a place of some truth there. But yeah, no, I like the fact. I felt it was just enough, and because like I would say like I don't know. This movie has 3 themes. One is the fact that existing in the world without the Beatles. The second theme about, you know, Beatles music and what it means to people. And the third one being the love story. But yeah, for that theme, I really liked a lot, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, so that's something I liked.
Yeah, this was Hamish Patel's. This was his first movie. This was his film debut here.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Oh, you know something I don't about a movie. All right.
Come on. That's supposed to be.
Show me up, why don't you? All right. Yes, it was.
Quite.
Great. Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like this movie, I enjoyed this movie. Again, it was a nice surprise. I didn't think that it was going to be very good. I think that a music movie is always. I'm kind of a sucker. I'm a sucker for music movies. It's kind of weird because I don't like musicals. I'm not
Same.
a fan of musicals. Um, Disney movies are kind of my exception. Sometimes, not all the time. Um, but yeah, music movies, when if a story like kind of focuses on one singer or songwriter or a band, it's always enjoyable for me to kind of watch their progression through life, from them like being the quote unquote nobody to making it, and their trials and endeavors like along. I like movies like that, so that just that aspect is something that I enjoy with the film, but it's something that we've seen plenty of times before,
That I do. That I do. That I know. That I know. One last thing I'll say that I really liked about this movie. I remember I thought about it really hard. I mean, like, it really kicked in. I mean, I definitely noticed it in the beginning too, but something like cemented it was like the scene where Jack was driving up to meet up with John Lennon. I really like the cinematography in this movie. I think it's a beautiful looking movie, like the way it's shot. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool angles, a lot of pretty interesting things that they did that I really appreciated. The more and more we review and critique these movies, the more I'm really starting to appreciate little things like that. So things like I was always kind of like aware of, but never like kind of like actively searching for, which I feel like I'm kind of doing now. Because I was thinking about this movie, and I was thinking about the last movie we reviewed was Spider-Man: Far From Home. Like, that movie was shot also in large parts of Europe, and like, yeah, it was all pretty neat looking, but most of that was, through special effects and CGI stuff. I couldn't really remember like a particular scene, but like in this movie, again, just the way it was shot, just certain angles, and that for it not being like a huge, big budgeted movie, I thought it was pretty impressive.
I agree.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Was there anything else that you particularly enjoyed about the movie?
I like the chemistry between the characters. I think they did pretty good. That's just something that I can bring out.
Sure.
Between the two main cast, Jack and Ellie, Hamish and Lily. Yeah, I think they it seemed pretty genuine, their friendship. I think the just the acting in general was pretty mint in this movie. They did a great job. There wasn't really anything that was really cringy. It worked. I liked the relationship with his friend Rocky, Joel Fry.
Oh my god, he was maybe next to Jack, like my favorite kid in that movie.
Hey man,
This kid had no business being there.
Dude, I
all.
was telling you that this guy is gonna be. They're gonna ask for this guy now. Apparently, he was in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I don't watch Game of Thrones. So was Ed Sheeran. Apparently, he I think that this guy, people are gonna want to see him. After this movie, he was really funny.
He was.
When he first popped up, I'm like, who is this dweeb? Who's this guy? But I was really happy that he was in the movie. I didn't think that he was gonna be in this movie like as much as he was.
I knew he was gonna be in this movie.
It wasn't that much. Like, he wasn't in a lot of this movie, but the scenes that he were in, the scenes that he were in, it was really great. I like this guy.
Yeah, he was funny. He was funny. I like good old Rocky. And last thing I'll say, the thing I liked about this movie, it's just for me. It's just for this guy. It's just for Preston. I mentioned it before, David. I just like the way this movie kind of shits on Ed Sheeran. I just like how they just kind of make fun of it, but like in a good way. And he seems to be like in on it too, like in good fun. But yeah, I just every joke at his expense I found hilarious. But yeah, I think
I remember when his ringtone went off, like in love, and like what's that
that's
song?
what like yeah, you are a douche.
Yeah.
You have your own song. Where
Right,
do you get off?
right. His ringtone was like his own song,
Yeah,
The Shape of You.
Shape of You.
And-
Love with the shape of you.
And like on that note, I didn't even know that was Ed Sheeran's song. Like,
Are you serious?
100% serious. I don't listen, like, I don't know, guys, like since like what years? Probably since like 2013. I don't listen to like I don't listen to a lot like music, like on the radio, you know. And so like I've heard that song plenty of times before, but I didn't know that was Ed Sheeran. It sounds like a little bit like too poppy, like / clubby, for like in comparison to like his original stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Not enough guitar. The lyrics are a little too. I kind of see it, but I kind of do right away. I'm not a big Ed Sheeran fan either. There are definitely some songs I like of his.
Dude, I remember when A-Team came out. That song changed my life.
It did. I liked it too. I was just saying, I liked it too. It was so sad. Like, oh man, this is songwriting right here.
Right.
Yeah. No. But yeah. No. I don't get me wrong. I do like the dude. He seems cool. I probably have a beer with him. but yeah, he's like John Mayer, but tolerable. So yeah. No. That's just another thing I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about things we don't like. David, I'm gonna let you start, and I'll lob you an easy one. You mentioned their accents earlier. But explain. Just real quick. What about what's going on with their accents again?
Well,
perfectly fine, clear British accents. What?
It's sure gonna be different around here when I push.
I bless you.
Yeah, that's dude, like
you drowned it. What was that?
It was so bad. Like honestly, I really had to interpret what they were freaking saying in this movie. You know, like I don't know, I don't remember what area of England they were supposed to be from, but their accents, they were freaking like they weren't the heaviest accents I ever heard. I've definitely heard worse, like freaking like BF nowhere boondock like European people who it sounds like they're talking with mud in their mouth, you know. But there were definitely a lot of parts during their conversations where I'm just like, what the heck are they saying, man? You know, so again, some parts were clearer than others, but I was just so relieved when the main character Jack, he started getting famous and he got to LA. Actually, English speaking people there, you know, American speaking people. You know, I was like, geez. And then it's like they went back to England, and I'm like, no, you know, because it was just really hard to understand what they were saying sometimes, which was kind of annoying, honestly. And I was just like, geez, like, I was kind of like, this is really one reason why I would like say, and I'm not trying to be just like this like, you know, one-minded one language speaking American person who's like learn our customs, but I'm just saying, like, dude, like, I know this movie wasn't just for Americans, but it almost kind of did like turn off the experience a little bit on some of those scenes where it was kind of hard to get through some of them, man.
I agree. There were a few, like 2 or 3 moments where I could not. I needed subtitles. Like, I could not understand what words were being said. It was a little rough. It was rough. Not a fan. And it's always sucks when you feel like you're missing out on a bit of dialogue and I remember there were pretty big scenes too. Like they seemed pretty serious. So when you feel like you're missing out on some information, it kind of makes it a little sour a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, no, I totally agree there. So yeah, their accents pretty rough. One of the things I was not fond of was, I mean, she is an American. I just wasn't. I just was not. Oh, real quick. The only problem I didn't have an issue with that was with Rocky. I understood everything he said perfectly. I don't know if it's because he was just funny, or he was just the most relaxed out of everybody. He was too zen. Like everybody was worried about like him, like Jack, like man, I'm still in the Beatles songs, and Ellie, like man, why doesn't he love me? And Kate McKinnon's like, man, let's just make more money. What are you doing? But like Rocky was just there. He's having a good time, and maybe that's what I can understand it the most. I don't know. He was a chill dude. But Kate McKinnon's character, the superstar mega manager chick, I was not really a fan of her. Nothing she really said or did made me laugh. Like, I think I smiled at her a couple of times, but like nothing like made me like. Ha, ha, ha. She just came off as rude and kind of annoying, and yeah. I mean, I kind of chuckled when she was like examining him. It's like, yeah, you're skinny and round. Like, how does that happen? And just like kind of like tearing him down. But then she kept doing it. It's like, oh, that's not necessary. You know, he's just trying to make a living. Yeah, I just wasn't a huge fan. And she almost seemed a little unnecessary, honestly. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of her.
Yeah. Like, I mean, she was like, I don't know. They needed some type of successful male character to move the story along, and you know, like she was pretty hardcore, like cutthroat. You know, like there was one part specifically right now that I can remember. She made me laugh. It's really at the end of the movie.
Oh, I already know
where she was chasing Jack.
Yeah.
You know, when he was kind of making his escape there. You know, like Rocky stopped her. I thought that was pretty funny.
That was
yeah.
Rocky pulled her back.
Yeah. Besides that, dude, I remember we were talking about JB Smoove. Sorry, JB Smoove, I love you. We were talking about our last review. You know, like how you know he's not that funny to me. Right. I feel like just on that note, I feel like if I hung out with JB Smoove in real life, he would probably be the chillest dude ever.
Sure,
I feel like I would enjoy to be around him. You know, but with
Kate McKinnon.
With Kate McKinnon, you know, it's kind of like it's honestly kind of like the same thing with her. I don't think that she's very funny.
Yes,
and I was never a big fan of SNL, just in general. Like Saturday Night Live, I always thought it was kind of like it was really hit and miss. Some of it was fun.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
You know, some of it was just like, why is this popular? Why has this been this popular for this many years? You know, and there's a lot of SNL comedians who have that same effect on me. You know, and I think like she's a good actress. But I think she kind of, to me personally, I feel like she shines a little better, like the more minor her role is, you know, and something, you know, just kind of like short, concentrated bursts of Kate McKinnon can kind of make me laugh, you know. Like I thought she was really funny, and the Zach Galifianakis movie there. Masterminds. I thought she was funny. Masterminds, because she played like his crazy fiance Jandis, and she really didn't have any lines in the movie.
Okay,
but she didn't have a lot of lines in the movie. But just her, it was a very kind of funny cringe role that she played in that movie, and that was funny. Kate McKinnon to me, but you know, this one she's kind of just like, you know, okay, like you're here,
you're here,
angry agent person. Right, you know, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one of the things I didn't like, and I guess you could count her as one, but this movie doesn't really have like a main antagonist. It really, the whole narrative of the story, the major conflict is Jack's consciousness. Essentially. That little voice that's telling them like, hey, this is a bad thing you're doing, you're taking credit for other people's songs, and you're not being straight up and honest with the one that I guess who's well, I was gonna say be in love with, but the one that's been like having your back this whole time.
Right.
And when you were telling me about Kid McKidd, I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about the two. You see a man and a woman just kind of like quote unquote lightly stalking Jack like throughout the movie. And I remember this goes back to the thing I said earlier, like the cinematography, the way the camera shot. When they were filming that one homeboy, like in the dance club or whatever, you just see like random shots of his face, just like of him, just like eyes wide open and everything.
Yeah.
This is cool. I feel like he's about to cut somebody, but all right. That's pretty cool. Like I thought they were gonna be like the villains and bad guys, that, like they were gonna jump Jack the second they had the chance. And I kind of like the fact that they kind of like trick you out. Like they're just like, no, we just want to say thank you because we remember too, and we were afraid we never hear the music again, and we can't sing. I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. But at the same time, huh?
And we can't sing. That's funny.
We can't sing. Yeah, we can't sing. Oh, we recognize that. But at the same time, and the actor Patel, he does a good job like showing Jack's like frustration at himself, and it's kind of tearing himself up inside. But there's like no big event, no real mental breakdown about it. At least not as visibly as I want. So I feel like with that and no main antagonist other than Ed Sheeran suggesting, "Hey, dude," like I feel like that kind of leads to like a weak climax to the movie. Because that kind of gets away with it, like kind of scot free. I'm not saying I don't like happy endings, but I don't know. I feel like there wasn't like any real obstacle to overcome.
No, there wasn't a huge rise, like in the movie. There he was just like he realized what he had to do after talking to
John Lennon.
Timeline's John Lennon, who is still alive here. He realized that, but I mean, like, yeah, there wasn't a huge moment of animosity. There wasn't like this like big thing. It was just him, Jack versus Jack. Is what he had to do in order to win in the end here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that can be done well. It's just for whatever reason, maybe the way they shot it, the way it was written, it just didn't come off as strongly as I think they wanted it, or what I hoped it could have been. And because of that, I think like the first act of the movie is a lot stronger than like the third or maybe even the second act of the movie, because it's fun, like seeing Jack's world and then it getting twisted, turned upside down, and then him trying to make it using these Beatles songs. Like that was fun. Like I like the montage of them like being up with that one dude and just producing these tracks and just finally having fun with music again. Like it was nice to see. But it kind of goes back to what we also said when we first saw this movie, is that I think the movie is the strongest when it's having fun with the idea of living in this world without the Beatles. It's making those jokes like, oh, thank God we still have Childish. What's a cigarette? But when it's focusing a little too much, particularly again, the two leads in this movie are really good actors, but like we said before, like this movie just kind of devolves from like a cool out of world body experience, but it just devolves into like a little bit of a simple love story, unfortunately, and that coupled with the weak climax, because he ends up getting the girl in the end and she's totally cool with it, I guess. It just kind of, it doesn't, the movie starts off strong, and I think just along the way it just loses steam, I think. Is how I see it.
I kind of agree with that, like it had like a nice drive to it, but you were just the whole time you were just kind of waiting for like it to blow up in his face, or like for something bad to happen that never really happened.
Happens. Yeah.
It was really convenient for the movie for him to not tell Lily James to not tell Ellie in this movie, because I think there were 2 times that he almost told her like, hey, like tried. I didn't write these songs, but it was just very convenient, like plot plot in the movie
Yeah.
to where
I
like
remember one time like his phone rang or something. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, dude, just tell her. You
Just
know,
tell her.
that's something that just like really makes a movie versus reality. Because like,
Yeah.
dude, like if this was me, nobody, I promise you, nobody would want to see David Harvey in the movie. You know, like I'm not that interesting, dude. Like I would have just came out with it at front. I would be like, hey, bro, you know, like I know I established with you like several times already. You don't know who the Beatles are, but okay, I didn't write these songs. You know, like.
20 minutes in, you're already telling me you didn't write these.
20 minutes in, I'm out. You know, like I'm gonna keep playing these songs. I'm gonna keep putting this, but I just can't. I can't have this on my conscience. I can't do it. like I would have came out with it, but you know, just again, like the movie had to use. They used this for like the big reveal in the end. You know, for him to tell the world and tell Ellie at the same time, you know, that those weren't his songs, you know, because I mean, like, dude, even regardless, if the world would have known that these weren't his songs, he still would have had equal success, you know. He still would have had an equal amount of success, you know. Like, sure, like there would have been, okay, maybe not equal, but there would have been something like if he would have said like, hey, these songs were written by a group of guys who are dead, or who
dead.
They never.
I used to know.
Right.
Right. They don't belong to me. Let me play one. Oh, that's nice. Let me hear another one. That was beautiful. Bet.
Exactly. It would just like kept going on. Like, sure, like he wouldn't have been like cool, like quoted as the best songwriter of pop music of our time, you know. He wouldn't have been credited, but he would have been the only performer and the only source of these songs, like to their authenticity. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it was a movie, and they had to do it. Yeah. But this movie, saying this again. I did really enjoy this movie. I came in with low expectations. And I think that's always like when I have the greatest time. It's when I have like low or no expectations and the movie actually is pretty good. You know. And so I liked the movie yesterday. Again, I'm a sucker for music movies. I really thought it was interesting how they kind of took this idea here. You know, I thought that was really cool, pretty original how they did this. But in the end, you know,
this is fun, dude. I have no idea where you're gonna land on this.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if it's a. This is fun. The rating system, no, barely there. Let's go, and the duck. I know it's not the duck, and I don't think it's a no. But like at first I was thinking, okay, he's gonna say let's go, but now you're starting to lean into more barely there territory. So I don't know where you're gonna land on this. This is kind of interesting.
And finish. I will tell you.
I'm just explaining my excitement. Wait, continue. I gotta know. I don't even have a theory. Like I don't know what you're gonna say. So it's gonna be a surprise no matter what you say.
Okay, good. So yeah. I enjoyed this movie, but in the end, ultimately, this movie turned into a love story, and it really was a love story from the beginning. You know, the friend Ellie always had feelings for Jack, but Jack never really reached out to her and showed her his feelings for her as well. You know, so there was always in the movie there was an underlining love story going on, which came more to life towards the middle and definitely the end of the movie. And that was just something that we've seen this 1,000 times over again.
Yeah,
I think that just a bit, it kind of took away from the movie kind of being a movie about the Beatles never existing. Kind of just like changed the tone. You know, just
I agree.
And I agree. with this movie being a music movie, something that we've seen many times before, and with it being like just pretty much a rom com, turned into a love story, which we've seen before. In the end, I'm gonna give this movie, dude, this is really like borderline. Like I'm giving this movie a barely there, but like plus though, like this is literally almost a let's go for me. I had a good time.
Barely, it's almost there.
Yeah, right. I had a good time. I enjoyed this movie. Again, like you said earlier, Preston, I'm just not a big Beatles fan. Big Beatles fan, maybe that would have helped me a little more, but no. And so yeah, dude, like I'm giving this movie a barely there plus. It just
plus. Okay.
the end, I can't give it a let's go because of this was a love story, a music movie love story, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I you kind of took the words out my mouth, like copy and paste. Like that's pretty much how I feel too as well. The only thing I'll add is that it boils down to a simple love story. Like I said, I felt like the beginning was stronger than the rest of it. And turning into a love story would have been fine, but the love story needs to be a bit more compelling. And unfortunately, as great as those actors were, I just felt like the material just wasn't that strong. What they ended up doing with the love story just wasn't that great. So, and also too, one last thing that I forgot to mention is just the movie was kind of long too. I don't know if that was just because I was slowly but surely kind of getting less and less interested, or less and less invested, because I kind of saw where it was heading. I remember maybe around the middle of the movie, like I took a bathroom break. It wasn't particularly long, but I was like up at the top row. I had to walk all the way down. I peed. I came all the way back up, and there was just kind of like there's a little bit of a sense like, okay, how much longer do I have of this movie to go? So yeah, it's almost like with our Power Ranger review, which I will definitely put up soon. Yeah, man, it's it's like I want to give it a let's go, but if I'm being honest with myself, and if I were talking about this movie to someone who hadn't seen it, yeah, it's a barely there. It's like just honestly, I think it's like the perfect like rental. Like if you were to catch it on TV or Netflix or something like that, do like a Netflix and chill with a gal. Like I think that's perfectly fine. And the movie is funny, particularly in the beginning. There is some parts where I definitely laughed out loud a couple of times, but it just wasn't enough to kind of push it over to that let's go territory. So yeah, man, I agree. It's not getting a barely there plus. I'll give that to Power Rangers 2017, but it's just a straight barely there. It's a movie. It's solid in some spots, but I don't think this is great. I don't think you need to rush out and see it. This is definitely not the best that this director has put out. I mean, it's kind of hard to top or even get on the same level as Slumdog Millionaire, but yeah, it just has the weak narrative in the middle and the end, and yeah, it just doesn't quite hold up all the way through. But it's okay. I don't regret my time or money on it. But we said this right before we started talking. It's like, hey, would I see this movie again? And the answer is no. Unless somebody really wanted to see it, and maybe if they were paying my way, yeah, I would. But other than that, it's like we're not going to actively like search out or look for ways to go see it. So
it kind of sounds a little harsh, but it's like really like that. It was a good movie. I just don't really feel compelled to go pay to see it again.
Exactly. Exactly. Once one and done, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm probably by the year's end, I'm probably gonna forget about this movie, and that sounds harsh. But I'm content with what I saw, I guess. You know. And like you said, like if for all you listeners out there, all 12 of you, if you do plan on seeing this movie, I would say, hey, go check it out. But like David said, lower your expectations a little bit. You know, just go in for a couple hours, just expect to be mildly entertained, and I think you'll be okay. I think you get your money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yesterday, which I think isn't. I don't know what else you could title this movie, but I don't know if it's because many days happen in this movie. I don't. I know it's a Beatles song, but yeah, it's the concept of the thing. But yeah, okay, cool. I think we got everything that we needed to say out the way. Good review. All right. Well, thank you again, David, for joining me once again. Very soon, we'll be starting our next project. I've been watching a few episodes of it. David has been dying again to review this series, The Runaways. The third season is premiering.
Negro.
It's so bad. This show is so bad. No. We'll probably review The Lion King or some shit later. But
oh man, I gotta go on a spiritual journey for that one. Get ready,
man. You do. Just go out in the wilderness and just meditate for a minute. But yeah, no, we'll probably review some other movie first, but that is a project I have been planning out. It's what?
It's on the list.
It's on the list, man. I wrote a bit of a script for it too, actually. I'll send it to you because you're the only one I can do that review with. Nobody else would get it. If I did it by myself, I'd probably blow my brains out. So yeah, Runaways, terrible Hulu show. But yeah, but yeah. Anyway, thank you. Keep an eye out for that. But thank you everybody for listening, for tuning in. I've reached double-digit subscribers, so I appreciate all the love and support. Yeah, whoa, that buku money, that YouTube money is gonna be coming in any second now.
Right.
You know, it's insane. It's insane. But yes, so thank you very much for listening. Barely there, and now we are here. Namaste. Okay, I'm done recording.